11 of Lav Gemara. This is a Gemara for Tuesday. The Daf is Daf Pei Daled. And we introduced the idea of a no where the object is the right object to buy, but the price fluctuations. Who can change their mind? It's the victim who could change his mind. And then the Mishnah tells us that if you wanted to buy one thing, you end up with something else, then they both can change their mind. And we talked about wheat, and we used the word, the following words, right in the middle of the page, down in Aleph. We use the word shechamtis. You bought shechamtis. Now, what shechamtis? Shechamtis must be red because there are two kinds of wheat: a red wheat and a white wheat. And since Lavan is white, so shechamtis must be red. What's the origin of the word? Chama, the sun. What does that have to do with red? Obviously, the sun is red. White. So obviously, there must be chama, which is the sun, must be red. Teda proved to you the kosam kotsafro panya. In the morning, when you wake up, the sun looks red. Sunrise and the sun sets, it looks red. The rest of the day, it doesn't look red at all. Why don't we see the red the rest of the day if the ball of the sun is actually red? Because so much light there, it doesn't allow us to actually see the sun properly. Maybe that's a question that says in the Braisa, someone has leprosy and that the white is deeper than the skin, because a darker color seems to be closer and a lighter color seems to be further. So the lighter color white compared to the skin seems to be to recede. It seems to be almost deeper, further away. And it gives an analogy, kemara chama, like the sun, amuka min hatzel, is deeper than the shade. The shade is more to the fore. So we see that we're comparing the leprosy to the sun. And what's leprosy white? It's white. It's white. And you just said before the sun is red. Says the Gemara, no, that doesn't prove anything. Kemara chama will bring you just an analogy like the sun compared to the shade, but not that it's actually the color of the sun. But like Kemara chama. Kemara chama is like the sun, the mukman itself, and it's deeper than shade. But like Kemara chama, the lahas, the love is bright. Ochad was red. Says the Gemara, l'mayda salagdaiti mikara. What we initially thought, because that the sun is white. That's why I asked this question from Saras. So, but the fact that we see red sun, sun could suffer upanya, but we see the sun red in the morning and at night, in the late afternoon. Says the Gemara, you know why? But safra in the morning, the chofa beived, it goes and rises in the east. The chofa beived Gan Eden, it crosses over the garden patches of roses from Gan Eden, because the Gan Eden is Mikedem on the east, so therefore the sun looks red. The panya in the afternoon, the chofa pis the Gehenim, it's in the west, and there it's going over the entrance to Gehenim. Again, the fire of Gehenim burning looks red. And economic elevate even the other way around, when the other way around, and the rays are not going straight down, the rays are going across. So in the morning, the east, the rays go to the west, and therefore there's a Gehenim, and that's why it's red. And in the afternoon, the rays of the sun extend all the way to the east, which is Gan Eden. Then the Mishnah said, Yayin wine, if you wanted to buy wine, it turned out to be vinegar, they both can change their mind, because I didn't get what I wanted. Our Mishnah follows the view of Rebbe, not the view of the Rabban. And what's in the Rebbe Rabban? The question is whether wine and vinegar are considered one kind of a species or two. The Tanya will in the Brisa. The Brisa says that yayin b'chayim mean echad. The Rabbanan say that wine and vinegar are one species, and therefore, if you give truma from wine and vinegar, and wine, it's a proper truma. And another example that the Rambam gives is if you made it in mixes. We know that if you claim for me wheat and I am made it to you barley, that's not made in mixes, because what you claim for me I denied, and what I'm admitting to you never asked for. There's two different species. But if it's the same species, then you ask for $100 worth, and I give you, and I know it's a $50 worth. That's considered a made in mixes. Same with wine and vinegar. If let's say that you ask me for wheat. Let's say you asked me for wheat. You asked me for wine, and I made it to vinegar. It's considered the same. Let's say you asked me for $100 worth of wine, and I made it to $50 worth of vinegar. We will treat it like made in mixes because it's the same min. It's the Chachamim will say, yeah, And the Rebbe says it's 2 7 minutes. That's how it's 2 7 minutes. And our Mishnah says it's a Mekar Taz because I didn't get what I ordered. So see, we follow Rebbe. That's the Gemara. That the argument regarding Truma is totally unrelated to our argument here or our din over here. Everyone would concede in our case it's considered a Mekar Taz. And why is that? I feel there about I'd kind of figure out a little bit when they argue Maisa and Truma, like regarding Maisa and Truma Kid based on what Abeloi said. Abeloi said, Benign, how do you know the Toida bin Haraliyaf? You shouldn't, but if you get Truma from poor, inferior quality on better quality, how do I know that the Truma is a Truma? It's still a valid Truma. Shenema, because it says a pasuk, like Sisu Olav Chet, you won't carry a sin if the Levi gets his mice, receives his mice, he has to give Truma from that. And he won't bear any sin, Baharimchem as Chelduman, if you give to the Kohen the best. Sounds like if you don't give the Kohen the best, you're committing a sin. Now, im ain't a kaddish. If you tell me that it doesn't become truma, then the tzid chelam. What are you going to sin for? Nothing happened. We can. So we learn out from here that Abeloi toidim raw ala yafa. If you gave from the fear to superior, it's truma to truma. But the inyan when it comes to mekach hamemcha, when I ask you for wine and you give me vinegar, kuli alma, and the point is because each one has a different purpose. Wine has one purpose and vinegar has another purpose. So therefore, if I ask for wine, you give me vinegar, or if I ask for vinegar, give me wine, you didn't meet my purpose. So those who enjoy wine, but they don't want vinegar. Those who want vinegar, but want wine. And therefore, in this case, everyone agrees it's like 2 separate minimum and some later mixes. Next Mishnah, the Mishnah says the Pedal obeys that we know that when I buy something from you, we have to make up a price. If you don't make up a price, then I can always change my mind, and we don't know that whether we can go ahead or not. We have to make a price, but the money is not a kinyan, so you also have to do something else. As we learned before, there's Masira and Shicha, Hagbo. Hagbo is a dominant kinyan. Hagbo kind of wherever you are, can even be in the vendor's house. You lift it, you're kind of. But you also have Mashicha. Mashicha does not work in a public space, but it works in a. We had it before. It works in a simta, which is a side street, and or a chatzah name. It belongs to both of them. And then we have Masira. Masira worship of Shusha Rabbi, where you pass the reins to me, or we had an argument for whether you have to pass it to him or the guy could take it themselves. So what happened the following? Hamoicha paid as a chaveda. You sold fruits to your friend, and we made up a price. Moshach. I went ahead and I pulled a whole bunch of fruit. We didn't measure yet. Now in this case, it made up $1 a pound. Or because in this case over here, it's just a question of how many pounds. So the kinyan and the final kinyan, we have the price. I made the kinyan Meshicha. It's a final kinyan and it's irreversible. And it's just a question of how many pounds I have to pay you for. We're talking about that since it's called kinyan Meshicha, we're talking about you pulled it into a simter, into a side street, or a chatzah that belongs to both. Then the Mishnah continues. What about, but if you didn't make up a price, then even though I made a meshich and everything else, it means nothing. Even I counted how many pounds, could we still haven't sorted out how much I'm going to pay? Maybe I'll walk away. I think you're too expensive. And then Mishnah continues. What about modad v'loy mashach? You measured the amount, but you didn't make them. Yeah. So mashach, if you made meshich, you didn't measure, you are kain. But if you measured, you didn't make the kinyan, then obviously you're not kain because you didn't make a kinyan. So how did you measure it then? You measured it using the utensils of the vendor, and the utensils of the vendor don't serve any purpose for you. They belong to the vendor. And then what you did was, what you do with the fruits, you put it out on the street, on the simta, and therefore you were not kaina. But if you would have put it into one of your own vessels, the buyer, then the kelev of lekech is kaina. And if the buyer was smart, and the vendor has his vessels there, he rents the place from the vendor, so now it's his chatzah. And anything that's in the chatzah, you are kind. So yeah, so you rent the place. Now we're talking about over here. You should do kin hagbah. We'll see more later. Where kin hagbah works, you can't do meshich. So we're talking about large items there where you can't really do hagbah. Meshich is really the proper kinyan. So anyway, right there, if you're buying flax for your friend, which are small items, there you should really be doing hagbah. You're not kind unless you lift it, unless you do kinyan hagbah. But if it's attached to the ground, then the tolash and you cut it off, kosher can even slice them out. You are kind. Says the Gemara. Amarab Asi, Amarab Yechon. It came when Rabbi Asi said the name of the Yechon the following. He said And more that if you measure if you measure and you, in other words, you went ahead using the utensils of the moicha and you measured, well, let's say 10 kilos, 22 pounds or something, and then the hiniach agabe simta, you took it out of the vessel, you placed it on the ground. Kana, you are kaina. And the way the Rabbeinu Geshe learns that the only two people that can use a simta are the moicha and the lekech. And the Rashbam in his first shot says also shvil sheyichid. So therefore the kinyan makes sense because they're the only two there. And the moicha doesn't want to be kind, so as if the lekech is the only one there and he's kind. But the other shot of the Rashbam, which is in side street, then you have to wonder exactly what kinyan is it here that that he is kind of with. What exactly is the kinyan? So we'll soon say, oh, Ravasi, I don't understand. Maybe you heard from Rabbi Yechon. How you kind of must be that the buyer used his utensil and from the keli of the vendor, all the fruits went into the keli of the buyer, and that's why it's kind of because his keli was kind of. Amalei, so Ravasi says, it can't be that shot because then what's Rabbi Yechon's finished? The kelim of the lekech, everyone knows that is kind wherever it may be. We'll see discuss tomorrow. Is it effective in Shus Rabbim even there as well? It seems to me that this Rabbi Zeda as if he never learned Gemara before. If he's talking about that Lekeach put it into his vessels, memra boy, you have to tell me that it's kind of course it's kind of. We're talking about it here, you placed it on the simta itself. You placed in the simta itself. And you were kind of was he and the chotzer of shulchan are kind of from each other. Sound like it's lying on the ground and they're kind of from each other. So the chinuch is you can't eat on the ground. So you want to know what you can actually be talking about that he took it and put it in his cake. In fact, oh, but we have then we have Rabbi Yaakov and more that you measured simply places like if you didn't put it in a keli on the ground, you're not kind. What's going on? Kashna Dadi Elas, I must say, can be made was when did Rabbi Yechon say that you are kind if you put it in the cup in the box of the why did Rabbi Yaakov talking about you place and Rabbi Zeda did not accept what Rabbi Asi has to say. Says the Gemara, Toshma coming here, coming here, it says the loy Moshe did not make a Mashiach. Why come? You were not kind. Because clearly you made a Mashiach, you pulled it into the we think right now it's a side street, sitting on the ground, and you obviously you already worked out the money arrangements, and you measure, and you're not kind. Why not? My lab is simply on the side streets. That's why you're not kind. If we're talking to Rabbi Mihachi, look at the first case. It says that, but what happens if Moshe he made a Mashiach? But he made your Mashiach is not effective in a public space. All the Mashiach is you bring it into your it's like you're supposed to be Moshe, the mother, Mashiach Rabbi Kanye, and yet it says here that if you just put it on the floor, that if you that mother will let Moshe, it doesn't work, or it doesn't work. You're not kind of. So the Gemara, how do you know you're not kind of Mashiach in the Jerusalem? To the Bible, the most Mashiach kind of Mashiach is kind of the Chatzah name belongs to the both of them, but Mashiach is only kind of symptom the side street. Uve Chatzah name and Chatzah belongs to both. And Akbar kind of Chomakam. So the Gemara, my Moshe Nami, when we say Mashiach, you know what we're talking about. According to Ravasi, the Tony Mishus Rabbi Masimta. Moshe doesn't mean Kini Mashiach. You pulled it for Shus Rabbi Masimta. As soon as you put it in the Simta, you're right. Mashiach doesn't work Shus Rabbi. As soon as you put it in the Simta, you're kind of because it's sitting inside the Simta. Sitting inside the Simta. Says the Gemara, if we're talking about in a Shusarabim, aim a safe. Look at the next case. Im hoya pikeach. If he was smart, soichet as mekayman, he hires a place. But if we're talking about Shusarabim, like you're trying to tell me Shusarabim, that's why if it's just lying on the ground in Akainim, simply you would be. So tell me, what's the Mishnah saying? You should, if you're smart, you should rent it. The man aga. Who in the world should you rent it from? Who should pull it from? And the Gemara says, Hachi kamen. Oh, the Mishnah is saying a new din. The im b'shuz b'ayim, we're not continuation. Before we're talking about shuz rabbi Rabasi argues. But if it happens to be inside the shuz of the owner, im hayibekech, if he is smart, soiches mekayim. The owner puts it in his vessels, rent the place, so now it's your chutzah, you're kind of king chutzah. Stop over here and continue tomorrow on this.